Alright, first song on the album, Martyr. This one started off as a drum track. I just hit record and Ron did a little drum solo, and yeah, I had a little debate if I was going to call him Ron or Dad in this, but I've opted for Ron just in case, you know, make things as clear as they can be. Who knows? Anyways, he put a little drum solo down, left to go get, I don't know, groceries or something like that, and I had about an hour and a half to come up with the guitars and, you know, just vague outlines for stuff. And it started off with that kind of and from there, the rest of the song kind of wrote itself. You know, it was pretty rough at first, but you know, getting through everything and all the initial humps and hearing back the ideas, it evolved into the song that we now hear today. Something to note on the mix of this one is we had most of it already done before January. I mean, that's very obvious. I think it came out sometime around the very beginning of January, but we had more time than just 1 month like the rest of these songs. You know, putting out a song a month, it becomes a little clear on this album which song came first, due to the fact that this one I feel has a lot more attention to detail in the final mix. You know, so a little bit of me, here's a bit of twinge of regret whenever I hear the other songs, just because I wish they all kind of got the same treatment. And even this one, I wish we just had a little more time for everything, but I think it was still a really good experience to put something out, 1 song a month, keep things moving, you know, stay busy, and yeah, that's Martyr.
I believe the way that the song came about originally was, I said, you know, a lot of times I like to write, like just jam out on the drums and like kind of get an energy going that it would be like, man, you're in concert and you're just really throwing it down, and it's just really try to whoop up a good energy. And so I just like really pushed myself on the drums to, it was a little bit beyond my capabilities at the time. We just recorded me jamming out, and I think I left and went and made a phone call or something. Came back like it was like 45 minutes later, and he had all these parts. Zach had all these parts written, and it was just like, wow. This is the first time I was really wowed, because it was one of the first times that, or if not the first time, where we said, let's write separately, or kind of tag team style writing. And he just, I was like, wow, this is going to be a whole other level of musicality in the songs. From there, it was just like, okay, what are we going to do next?
Alright, as you can see here, I've swapped my weapon of choice. We're talking about the second song on the album now, Unveiled. So this one started off a little bit before the beginning, I suppose. I had written this just really fun song, and I liked playing it. I was, you know, super proud of it and all that, and I couldn't wait to show, you know, Ron and get some drums, get some bass and vocals, you know, make it a song, you know, rather than just a kind of outline. And you know, I tabbed it all out, and I showed him, and I was like, all right, what do you think? And he's like, okay, you know, pretty cool. And you know, anyways, went to have like lunch or whatever, and you know, I was finishing up, sitting there, I was jamming on the couch. We had this riff right here. And Ron overheard that and said, whoa, what's that? And I knew my old song was down the drain for a little while anyways, and that was going to be the project of choice, and sure enough it was. We worked on that one for quite a bit, a couple days, but it, you know, took no time at all. That one was a real example of something just writing itself. I mean, I don't even remember it. It was just effortless. So yeah, that's one of our favorites, Unveiled. About the mixing, this one was the real indicator that the album is going to be hard. Like 1 song a month with the rest of life going on, as you know. it adds up. So this one compared to Martyr, I've heard and I hear it as a pretty big difference in production, just because there was such a, vacuum that was filled completely with all the time being spent on Martyr, and this one there was just little scrapes that we were, able to get by on to make it all work out. But yeah, still love the way this one turned out, love playing it, and that's Unveiled.
This was an earlier one. I don't remember the specific number of the song, but it was pretty early on, and it was one that Zach came up with all the guitar parts for, and then he presented it to me. I think he was kind of toying around with something else, but I heard him do something and I was like, oh man, that's really cool, can you do something with that? And then he went and wrote all the parts that he wanted to use. And this was the one where the concept of the album started coming together in my mind, which, the way I like to write is I don't like to have like a preconceived idea. I don't say like, well, I'm going to write a song about social media and then write, I know a lot of people do that and they do it great. That's just not my method or my forte or whatever. It's songwriting to me is more of a revealing process. I want to let the emotions of the music, after I've really internalized the music and listened to it enough, I like to have the music pull the things out of me, and it's a journey of discovery in a way, and I love that. I love the idea that I don't know what a song is going to be, and then when it starts coming together and I have that aha moment, it just blows my mind. I'm so excited to, oh cool, okay, now I know what the song's going to be about. It's revealed itself to me, and sometimes that's pretty immediate, and other times it's painstaking and requires a lot of perseverance and patience. But throughout the years, I've learned to just trust that, because a song, if you just let it come to you, in my case, it will reveal itself. Anyway, this one came together pretty quickly, and we were both, once we got it recorded, we were, this was one that really kind of fueled our fire to like, ooh, what's next, so yeah, love this one.
Third song on the album, we have Requiem, as my little cheat sheet says, but I think I also remember that being the third song. So anyways, Requiem, kind of an outlier on the album. This one started off as a little bass idea. I posed the question, what do you think the saddest chords are? And I just asked because I really wanted to just say what mine were, but I said mine's probably this. And yeah, from there, that song was basically halfway done. Put some guitar chords corresponding to the bass chords and all that, and added a little bridge section, a little chorus, if you will. I don't really know, it doesn't make a difference to me. And that was that. A really cool, notable thing about this song is that we had two different guitar players. Nice job, Dave and Kurt. Kind of panned left and right, and we chopped their tracks up, to kind of give this intertwined solo thing, because at first they never heard each other play, and they never play on that song. So they were just going off their impressions of the song, not worrying about any other guitar work, and it was kind of up to us to mix that and make their tracks coexist, and I'm really happy with the way it turned out. I think it's got a really sweet, spacey vibe. So, Requiem.
It's not really a song that I would say is a definitive Widetrack song in terms of, hey, what does Widetrack sound like? but I think that's a good thing. I think it maybe that we go outside our usual stuff, and when that happens, we embrace it because it's not easy to make that happen. We're gonna kind of naturally gravitate towards certain moods and certain feels, and so when something comes together that's outside that, it's uncomfortable in a really cool kind of way, and that was the case with this one. So it's just got a unique place in the Widetrack body of work. But this, I think it makes a point that needs to be made, and as sad as it is and as melancholic as it is, it maybe provides some comfort to some people who might struggle with these kind of things, and at least that's the hope. So yeah, that's Requiem.
Alrighty, the moment you've been waiting for, Tribal. This one started off as a drum solo, kind of, just a rough outline of the whole song on drums, similar to Martyr in a lot of ways besides that. But yeah, I just hit record, Ron laid it down, he left, I did my guitar, we had a rough outline. That was that. The whole song was basically written from there, and we knew we were gonna have some good fortune with this one after hearing the So yeah, it's the whole thing. Easy breezy, no problems with that one, except the little solo section that we've got. That little section was all product of Dave Humphrey's guitar work. Yeah, he added quite a bit to the song. I'm gonna see if I can even play this. I mean, it's doing some crazy stuff. Sweet section. Really adds a lot to the song, and yeah, wonderful contribution from Dave, as will be a pretty recurring theme. But yeah, one of our favorites again, Tribal.
Yeah, this one, Zach, it was another one where he recorded me just jamming out on the drums. I left for a little while, I came back and he had all these parts, and I was just like, what the heck is happening here with my son? He's a freak of nature. In a good way. This whole process, just all along the way, was so exciting to me in so many ways, and never saw it coming. I never, all the time when Zach was young, I played music and stuff, and he would pick up the instruments and he would toy around here and there, but he was never, he was a little kid. He was interested in gaming or puzzles or Legos or whatever, and so I never pushed it on, and I never liked it when parents kind of try to live vicariously through the kids and push them into areas that they like. I wanted my son to find himself and find his own happiness, and I'm there, to support him with that. But when he decided he wanted to be a musician, I was like, sweet, I can help you with that. But man, I didn't, at the time I was like, oh cool, we'll play together, we'll write songs together, you're my son. And I didn't care if he was even going to be good. It was just something that we connected with and he enjoyed. So, but then he started getting really good, and then he started getting really, really good and pushing me as a musician. And that was when my mind was just so surreal. That's the only word I can think of for it, just surreal. That wow, this is reality now. This is what we do now, and my son and I are writing music together, and this is everything I ever dreamed of in a writing partner, and it doesn't even need to be that good, but it is. And so I feel like this whole process has just been so rewarding and so exciting, and so just my cup runneth over, you know. Anyway, Tribal was a key song. It's definitely, I think it's the key song of the album, lyrically anyway. But I also think musically, I think it's the one that kind of, if you were going to pick one song that's most like all the others, I don't know, this one would probably be my choice, but I could be talked out of that too.
Alright, probably my favorite of the album, The Rift. This one started off as a pretty simple chord progression, and the melody was written kind of after the fact, using the chords in mind. The Tim Henson from Polyphia method, if you will. I've been digging his stuff lately. So originally we had, right? And after a little bit of tweaking, we were left with, add some other notes in there to spice things up a little bit. Makes the chords have a lot more depth, and really helps to give way for a more fresh melody. So yeah, from those chords came and the rest of the riffs kind of came just hearing what's in your head. And the song was written over top of that little verse. The second time through anyways, there's another little guitar part that I'm pretty fond of. It's kind of another take on the chords, That's a sort of math rocky type of slidey, pull-offy thingy. And this one I thought was a little more, a little more rockin'. So yeah, the only other part is the part that I don't think I can even play anymore. That little harmonic section in the middle of the song, have a little breakdown. Tough stuff. Yeah, it took me a little while to get that on the recording, but I love the way it worked out. It makes the song all it is to me, and yeah, one of my favorites, again, to play live and to play it all, The Rift.
Yeah, Zach showed me that guitar part, and it was one of the things that made me really excited about collaborating, because it's like it was just a quintessential example of what I love about collaborating. One of the things I love about collaborating is when somebody presents you with a piece of music and you're like, wow, I don't even know what I'm going to put to that. Like, I really am going to have to practice and live with that music for a little while and try different things. And then when you've got that person willing to listen to your ideas in real time as you're coming up with those ideas, and say no, and kind of steer you in a direction, or at least say, hey, I'll know it when I hear it. And that was the case with this one, because it's in a kind of a weird time, a weird count. So you can't just play straight through. There's a where you have to do, you got the backbeat where you got to put two together there, and it took a long time to figure it. And then it's one of those things where when you finally figure it out, you're like, oh, that's all that is. But in the meantime, I'm trying all this weird syncopated offbeat stuff, and he was just very insistent on, no, it just play straight through. And I'm like, well, you can't play straight through on this. And but then we figured out how to do it, and once we did, it just unlocked all this energy for this song. Like, it's such a upbeat, straightforward rocking thing, and I love the breakdown with the harmonics and stuff. And I've got a little surround sound system that we were playing a lot of the stuff through, and when we played that part here in the stereo and cranked it up, I was just like, what the hell, dude, where did you come up with that?
Alrighty, closing off side 1, we have another outlier on the album, Gone Dark. This one here started off, however it started off, I honestly couldn't tell you. But we were playing with some kind of rhythmic things in the beginning verse, you know, with the bass and drums, so, you know. Kind of a weird little feel there that we got to play around with a little bit. And unlike most of the songs, the guitar, rather than being a driver, was kind of holding it down with the you know, all those. And yeah, it just gave a totally different feel with the bass being the main force of motion at the very beginning of the song. So, you know, the other riffs that kind of came about is, this might have been what started it, the whole thing, but all those other parts, they just came about kind of in sequential order as we were playing the song and jamming it out, you know, thinking about what would come next. The logical progression took us through the whole thing, and we filled in the blanks, all the spacey stuff. We tried to get in afterwards just to fill it out, make the song feel bigger, and yeah, I think it turned out pretty good. I'm pretty proud. Gone Dark.
This was another one that I was really looking forward to work on. This was one of my favorites in the beginning, and it's interesting how it's really mellow and then it just immediately goes into a whole other level of dynamic and just gets heavy, like so suddenly. And yeah, Zach's parts to this are just they hit all those moods that I just love.
Alright, opening up side 2, we have TERRA. I lied about the riff. Maybe this one's my favorite. I'm just, you know, who cares? I can't pick a favorite. It's like being a favorite kid. Not that I really know what that's about, though. I'm 15. So, this one started off as a drum solo. Ron laid something down, and in the very same day, I accomplished absolutely nothing. This took forever. I mean, like, at least a month to write all the guitar and bass for, because I was really trying to go beyond myself in the opposite direction. Rather than being super, you know, visceral and doing what comes to mind first, I wanted to find what I could stretch myself to, you know, just what I was digging at the moment, how meticulously I could apply that to the song. And yeah, I didn't really like sell the song short or whatever and try to put in a bunch of shredding or whatever the heck. I don't think that's really the right approach, but I did try to kind of expand as opposed to a lot of the other ones, which have a more of a traditional kind of classic rock feel and vibe to the writing of them. So I was listening to a lot of jazz. I was wanting to play a lot of jazz, so the little intro came from a tutorial on YouTube on Phrygian chords with a little undertone of use them sparingly, which I did not do. Personally, I think that's very jazzy, and I'm a big fan. I say all these things with such narcissism because I don't think it's really my idea. I mean, it's like, sure, I'm playing the guitar, but I mean, the notes are all here. Anybody can do that, you know? Anybody can do that now. Really, I'm like an arranger, you know, like playing a matching game, you know, where you flip over cards and see if it works or not, and I'm just happy with the outcome. You know, I don't feel like I have any real say in it at the end of the day. It's all just kind of a natural stream, and I have to work as an antenna for all of it. So anyways, the next couple parts just came from, you know, wanting to use more jazz things like chromatics, you know, and all that stuff, and the whole tone scale, which kind of has the, I don't know, back in my day. You know, a little funny vibe to it. You know, basing the chords around that kind of gives you a sense of, you know where things are going, but they're not really in the way that you expect. I don't know, tough to explain, but I like it. So there they are. Most of the rest of the song was written pretty easily. We had a lot of different sections to it, but all the stuff kind of came together. Some of it by accident, some of it through multiple instances of trial and error, and eventually TERRA was completed.
This is another favorite. This one is pretty recent, and it was another one that Zach and I wrote by way of, I had a really distinct drum feel. So we don't have any songs with a we started getting to like 7 or 8 songs in, and there were less and less ideas that we had ready going into this. So as time wore on, and we're putting out a song a month, well, that was easier in the beginning because we had songs kind of saved up, and we just had to put minimal work into them and then just record them or just mix them or whatever. But as we got a little over halfway, it was like, ooh, we gotta finish some of these songs in addition to releasing them. And it was a big lesson that we came to with this stuff is, you know, we really wanted to follow through. I mean, once we told people, hey, we're going to release a song a month, we didn't want to not do that. So that was really important that we followed through with that. But there were things that we didn't foresee when we chose to do that. And so it was a big lesson learned. And so we got to finish the songs, but there just wasn't enough time to sit with some of these last songs to really let them finish cooking, you know. I like getting the ideas down and recording them and trying to get the best version possible and working really hard on it. And then I like to leave it alone for a little while and then come back to it with fresh ears, almost where you've almost forgotten how everything goes. And then so you hear it like you're hearing it with unfamiliar ears. And for me, a lot of times that's when things will jump right out at me of what it needs. And because, you know, when you're working on songs, you can really get so into it. You're almost too close to it, and you need to get some perspective. You need to get away. You know, not everybody, but that's the way that it works for me. And Zach feels the same way, where it's like, Zach said the other day, he's like, I don't mind putting out an album in a year, but just not a song a month. It'd be like we're working on a collection of songs and then put it all out at the end of the year. That's a little bit different because then you have time to live with things for a little while and then change things. And that's, you know, that's kind of something that we decided to do. It's a gray area, but these versions, the versions that we released month by month will not be the final album versions. There's going to be little fixes here and there. It's not going to be, we're not going to just completely re-record and rewrite the songs, but there's little things that we, now with the benefit of hindsight, we have to master everything anyway, so we're gonna go back and just clean up little spots. And there's a couple things that I know vocally and lyrically, like I just like really bug me. Like I just, every time I hear them, I'm like, I got a much better idea for that now. And I realize that this is, if we were a much more popular band, that would be a real problem. People would be more attached to what we release. But at this early stage of the band's acclaim, you know, external acclaim, I think we can afford to go back and fix things, and not too many people are really going to notice, if any. So, but this one is done. TERRA is we're happy with the way that it turned out, and I think this is Zach's favorite song. He won't commit. He likes this one. He likes the Rift. He likes Unveiled. I think this one is Zach's favorite, though. He might contradict me, though, just because I said that.
Alright, next on the album we have Drones. This guy here started off unlike anything else I've ever been a part of. It was, let's just write something. You know, no inspiration took over. There was no, you know, let me put down a drum track really quick. There was nothing like that. It was just, let's write something. And we had kind of this idea. On an acoustic, of course, but from there, the rest of the song really just came together. We decided to do something in 3, da 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 da, and other than that, the rest of it was just completely happenstance, you know? Anyways, the main features of this song are, I think, the fact that it just has so many different parts, you know, similar to Gone Dark and Oblivion, as we'll get into, and yeah, I don't think I'm forgetting anything else, but a lot of these long kind of journey-like songs, I think this one really started it off in a certain way, you know, made it official. You know, it was the second one to kind of feature this long story-like progression, and so it's kind of important. But yeah, around the middle of the song, you know, in the more jammy bits, we've got another feature from guitarist Dave Humphries laying down some lead work. Very cool stuff. It makes the song all come together. Drums.
This one was when I was still coming up with guitar parts for some of the guitar parts for these songs. So we would kind of get stuck, and I would noodle around on the guitar and, hey, try that or this or that. And I can hear where those parts are, and I can totally hear where Zach said, well, how about this? And then, you know, there's sections of each of those in this song. But I think this one could be like, if you know, one of the ideas that we have about playing shows in 2020 and beyond is having different you know, configurations of the band. Like we'll, some gigs, you know, a lot of it's just depending on resources. You know, we don't have a lot of money right now. We're bare bones. This is just the two of us doing everything right now. So I was like, well, you know, if we bring in other musicians, we got to pay them, and that's cool for certain things, but you can't do that for everything, you know, where you're just throwing out hundreds of dollars just to play gigs and not bringing anything. I can't afford to do it. So let's try and develop a set where just the two of us can play, and fortunately enough, there's a lot of bands out there doing that right now. But that's not the ultimate vision of the band. That's just so we can get out there and just start playing live, because Widetrack has not been a live entity anywhere near to the degree that it's been a studio entity. And it's like in 2020, that's another thing that I've kind of come to realize through this process is, like, Zach really feeds off playing live, and he's young. He deserves to have that experience. You know, when I was his age, that's all I wanted to do. I didn't care about the studio. Fortunately, he cares about the studio too, but he really wants to start getting out with this stuff. So do I. I can't wait to play. I've been practicing on the drums and just every night, just really getting myself physically ready for it. So drones is kind of, in my mind, I see like a 5-piece, 6-piece version of Widetrack. Like I can see myself and 2 other guitar players, bass, drummer, and even a percussionist, you know. And I think that would just be a real, like, I almost want to just save playing that one live until we can really just manifest it in a real grand way like that. So we'll see.
Nearing the end of the album, we have The Chosen. This one was written pretty close to the very end of our cycle of the year. It was written, you know, during the year, unlike a lot of these, which were all written 2018, and we had a lot of time to refine them, sit with them, work with them, even record them sometimes. This one was written, recorded, mixed, mastered, all within the month, similar to another one on this list that we'll get to very shortly. But yeah, this one, along with that other one, which I will remind you, don't you worry, it was hard. It was probably the most difficult part of the album was the very end, because we were out of slack, you know. we hadn't worked up anything to make the process a little easier for when the time constraint kicked in. So yeah, you know, this started off as a little iPhone video that I sent over to Ron of just me playing some guitar stuff. Indecisive on the 16th notes, but who knows, it's there for effect. And the rest of the song came from trying to quickly put something together in the same vein. You know, there's a lot of these little major ninth chords, kind of more of the jazz influence, you know. Just digging, you know, the ambiguous sound, you know. This top half is kind of a minor chord if you think about it, this bottom half, major chord. Can't get enough, right? Yeah, that song was really thrown together. It was you know, a lot of different things we went back and forth on, but at the end of the day, not enough time to really make any sort of super crazy decisions or to know for sure, but we went with our gut, put it out anyways, and I think it turned out pretty cool. The Chosen.
This is one that's going to have some slight changes vocally when the final version of the album comes out, which might be already out when you see this. I really worked hard on this one. I didn't have a immediate feel for it, and so when we released it, I kind of posted a video in our private Facebook group about how I was just unsure about it. Well, I recorded a couple versions of it, and I think I picked the wrong, well, I know I picked the wrong one, because the other version, I kept singing it in my head after I got away from the song for a while, and I'm like, yeah, that's what this one needs to be. And so it's out there on Spotify and Apple Music and everywhere, YouTube right now, and we're going to yank all those versions. I'm going to take all those versions down and put the new and improved album up, which, you know, it won't even be really noticeable to most people, I think, but it just we know exactly now the little changes that we want to make, and this one for me is we've already redone it and remixed it, and I think it's way better. I'm much happier with it now, and so now I'm not doubtful about the song. It's like, okay, this lyrics are better, the vocal melody's better, just the whole mood's better for me. That was one song that I kind of fell short on when we to really get finished with the hell yes by the deadline, but it's good now. So
alright, kind of a detour here. Our next song on the album is Voyeurs, the very first song that we ever wrote together. So this one, as far as I know, started off as a demo from another Widetrack song, but also with this little bass idea that I had, which in my younger days I thought was quite impressive. You know? So, you know, listening to a bunch of Rush and Yes and all that and learning all those lines, I was, you know, really in the mindset to make something cool and technical and, you know, featuring. At the end of the day, I think it really serves the song in a totally different way than I ever imagined, with more so outlining kind of a doo-doo-doo, doo-doo-doo. Yeah, it's kind of funny how that worked out in the end, and none of my intentions really got through from 3 years ago or whatever. All those other riffs, you know, that was all Ron's doing. He wrote all that stuff. I kind of rearranged some stuff, you know, put some bigger voices on the chords and all that, just to add my own little flair onto it, but in the end of the day, that was all his stuff. I should mention, however, one thing I did get in on the guitar. This one and Gone Dark both, I didn't really mention it back there, it wasn't a big part, but you know, I got a little lead work in there. So, you know, I got a little guitar solo, and I kind of took it piece by piece. I'm not a huge fan of what I sound like when I just go off, you know. I don't really think I have a good ear voice for it quite yet, at least not in the Widetrack sense. You know, I do like to think that the guitar solos have to be a little less guitar oriented and more melodic and all that. Also, one other guitar feature is from Dave Humphreys. Yet again, putting down a little bit of clean stuff at the end really makes the whole thing come together. It's very subtle, but yeah, from one end of time to the next, Voyeurs.
I remember when he came up with that bass line, you know, he was still kind of finding his feet with the music and everything, but he came up with that bass line, and I was, wow, that's cool. It reminds me of Geddy Lee, Rush. You know, being that it was the first song that we ever wrote together, once we started writing more songs, he was improving by leaps and bounds in the beginning. So this song kind of got pushed aside for a while. We didn't end up putting this one out till, I think it was like song 5 or something like that. I think it was May before we put this one out. And the reason, well, what we ended up, I just went back and listened to it, and I said, I'm going to try to just load it into the recorder and see if I can come up with some ideas. And I started coming up with vocal ideas for it right away, and I was like, ooh, I really like this. And so I sent over the initial little rough draft ideas that I was coming up with, and he really liked it too. He said, wow, I didn't think that this song was going to really be used, but now I want to do something with it. And I said, me too. So we immediately just finished it and mixed it, and it was pretty painless. Very special song, the one that started it all.
Second to last song on the album, we have Cursed. This is the one I was referring to in the Chosen segment. This one was written during the month that it was released. And wowee, that makes things a whole heck of a lot harder, at least in this sense. So no extra time to sit with it, to think about the decisions, to re-record, much of anything. This one was put out kind of rushed, just like Chosen, but I do feel like that almost worked to its advantage in some ways. You know, there's a lot more reactionary, you know, not a whole lot of second guessing, doubting, that because there's just no room for it, you know. And I think in the end it turned out really good. This song has a lot of different places it pulls from. I mean, I had a little bass line that went something like this. And instead of using that as a bass line, we use that as a... You know, and I had another little riff. I didn't really know what to do with it, so that was the next section. You know, all stuff that I think is technical and hard to play, so it's in there. Yeah, the rest of the song, it was written so quickly, there's hardly anything to say about it. Although I will say, one of my favorite parts on this entire album, because it's, you know, just so fun to play, so at least in the vein of what I like to listen to. Come on, I'm just using this as an excuse to play it again. Right? I mean, come on. Who doesn't like the... Right? It's odd time. It's great, you know? That's just my 2 cents. But, yeah. Cursed.
We were basically out of songs, and November was coming, and it was like, dude, we need one more song. You got any ideas? And Zach had a couple ideas, and he played me the couple of the riffs. I said, that's great, man. And he's like, I don't like this one part. I like this and I like this. I'm like, well, we need more parts. He's like, don't pressure me, I got school, I got band, I got marching band, I got jazz band, I got concert band, I got homework. And I'm like, you're right, you're right. I said, school first, you got to keep your grades up. Yeah, so eventually he came up with that bridge section, and it was different, and I started playing around with it, and it was just like at the 11th hour, man, it just came together in the way that it is now, which I just think that part just makes the song. It's so powerful, and it's another one I think is just different for Widetrack. There's nothing like it on any of the older Widetrack albums, and I'm curious to see how it goes over live. I think it'll be fun to play, and we'll just see how it's received.
Alright, final song on the album, almost a title track, Oblivion. So this one started off as a guitar part of some chords that were stolen from another song. I'm not going to mention that song. A lot of these actually had some pretty big influence from specific songs. MARTYR, for example, was my take on a song written by a band that does not speak English. I've never talked about them, so don't even try. Don't sell me out, please. But no, I'm kidding. Taking some influence from some of our personal influences, which we have talked about them plenty. We had an outline for an intro, and that's where it all began. We added that little guitar intro in afterwards. You know, I was playing the chords, and you know, Ron was over there fading the amp in and out. It was a pretty collaborative process, if I do say. Yeah, the thing about this song is each part was really written with like months in between. I mean, from that intro section to that next heavy section, you know, we had maybe a month or two. And from that section into the next, another couple, you know, bits of time. And so on and so on and so forth, right? This song, because it took so long, really embodies a culmination of all of our influences throughout the album, and a lot of what the album is, you know? Which is like a journey for us, you know? Not to get all sentimental or whatever. So if you remember that riff from Cursed I mentioned, no, I swear I didn't just want to play that again, although that is part of it. I actually just wanted to point out that it's something that inspired this next part. You know, without that bit in Cursed, there wouldn't be that bit in Oblivion. You know, that ending of Oblivion being the very last thing written, and the intro being one of the first things, it really does its job, I think, as a final track on the album to really just recollect everything that we've been through putting the album together, and that all these songs have been through, you know, from the very beginning of writing, you know, with VOYEURS and REQUIEM, to, you know, those very end hard times with Cursed and The Chosen. This one really embodies everything on the album, and I'd be kind of a heartless man if I said it wasn't my favorite, but I just love all the album too much. I'm just so happy with how it turned out. Oblivion, signifying the ending of an era and the beginning all together at the same time. So with that, my input on the album is done. I've made sure, after many attempts to convey these ideas, to keep most of my secrets intact, and I hope something was to be gained. Thank you all.
Yeah, Oblivion is, we knew all year long that this was going to be the final track, and so we didn't, it was kind of like we kind of looked at it like the dessert, you know. It's like we were so into this song and knew that it would be the last one and knew it was going to be just this epic scale of, you know, we wanted, the original idea was like, let's make the song as long as it can be. Let's see how long we can make it. And we got to a point where we were like, that's good. We don't need to keep contriving part, you know. Let's just keep it, and it just fell to be 9 minutes and 11 seconds. We released that this month, the beginning of this month, and we've just been trying to catch our breath ever since, gearing back up, seeing what's ahead, and so really looking forward to getting out there and playing this stuff. So.
Oh, sorry. No, yeah, it's really cool. Yeah, my whole experience with this album has been just a journey. You know, it's been from one place to another, going all over. I get it. People say they're busy with school all the time, and you know, maybe some don't think it's as hard as others, so it's tough to get a real idea for what that means, but I try and get involved with all that stuff. So trying to balance school life and all the extracurricular musical opportunities along with this was not easy. It was really, really, really consuming. It was a big thing, you know, to try and do all these things. But after doing all of them, the year's coming to a close, the album is finished. You know, things are winding down for the holidays. I couldn't be happier with how everything turned out. The album, you know, there's already good guitar things and instrumental things that I hear now and I say, I could play that so much better. But the point of it is almost to serve as a time capsule. You know, it's like this is where these musicians were at this time, and this message will stand to say what, you know. And I think, you know, at least to me, that is really what the album is. It's like a time capsule describing something much bigger than itself, which is a journey. I've been Zach. Farewell.
One of the best experiences of my life. Never in my wildest dreams did I think that I would be making music like this with my son. It deserves to be said that I am just so proud of him. And he was a pro through this process. At his age, to be as professional and to maintain his standard of quality throughout this whole process, it just blows me away. I mean, I am not taking credit for this. This was hard work that he did, and I didn't have to. All I had to do was keep up with him, and I hope I did. I did to the best of my ability. And so this experience really caused me to strive beyond where I would have strived had I made another album by myself. I feel like I took that as far as I wanted to. I always wanted Widetrack to be a collaborative effort, but at the same time, you just can't just collaborate with just anybody. You have to have chemistry with them. And wow, it blows me away that outside of us being father and son, that we have writing chemistry and playing chemistry. You know, as far as he and I working on this together. If this is all that we ever did, wow, what a wonderful thing it's been. I suspect with, you know, life willing, we will continue to do this, and we'll do more, and looking forward to it. And I just want to thank everybody that's taken the time to not just watch this stuff, but that has watched all of our videos or watched some of our videos, or just shown us support throughout this time that we've been building this. Ultimately, this isn't just for us. This is we're releasing music so that people will listen to it and that people will dig it. And we've gotten such wonderful feedback from you, and so thank you. I really mean it. Thank you. And we're gonna keep rolling. So we'll see you in 2020 and beyond.